Mansfield. Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, grandma being racist all the time, with logs in the toilet, it's post-lunch you see, it's time to rejoice with the best Christmas games from me. Aw shit son, it's Die Hard! What better way to celebrate this, the worst time of year, than with this, a collection of some of the worst and best and worst and surprisingly goodest but mainly worst games based on a film. Some films, starring a guy who absolutely refuses to put his face or voice to the game versions but will put his face to this game for some reason. The long-standing festive tradition of Die Hard video games started all the way back with the NES and PC Engine, or the Nintendo Entertainment System and the TurboGrafx 16 if you want to be abhorrent even though it's Christmas. As you can see from the footage located underneath these words, the PC Engine version of the game of the film absolutely nailed it, featuring a mix of festive violence and a strict adherence to the movie's plot as John McClane made his way through waist-high water in order to eliminate a series of security guards with a flamethrower. It's what McTiernan would have wanted, really. The NES version, meanwhile, did genuinely manage to be a rough facsimile of the film in one of those ahead-of-its-time sorts of ways you do sometimes see. You played as McClane already in the Nakatomi building rather than wading through a swamp with a flamethrower, and had to retrieve detonators, alert the police, kill the terrorists, and save your wife Holly Gennaro McClane McTouchscreen perm. It's an 8-bit game, but the ambition shines through, and the primitive line-of-sight mechanic it employs almost makes up for the fact that terrorists operate on a massive spray-and-pray policy that makes combat not festive, let's go with. There was a Die Hard 2 Die Harder game on the Amiga, but we won't talk about that because even though the second movie is another fine festive tradition akin to Home Alone or Gremlins, the game is toilet. Die Hard Trilogy leaned into the whole Christmas angle, naturally, by having snow on the light gun section of the game itself based on Die Hard 2 Die Harder, so actually quite like the Amiga game I just skipped over, but instead of being rubbish, it's actually fun. Best thing about it is that you can shoot civilians and not lose lives, unlike in Virtua Cop, which opts for the wholly unrealistic angle of offering up penalties when law enforcement shoots unarmed innocent civilians. Festive cheer continues, of course, with the hot summer reaction of the Die Hard with a Vengeance driving game, which is objectively not great, but I still love it, and the incredibly Christmassy bit of the game where you run around in a basement shooting people, screaming a lot, rescuing hostages and listening to a man do a really bad festive impression of Bruce Willis. Yippee-ki-yay! Die Hard Trilogy is a quantum game, managing to be both utter trash and fantastically brilliant at precisely the same time. How does it do this? Through the magic of Christmas. Also, there was a Die Hard Trilogy 2 subtitled Viva Las Vegas, but we don't have to go into that because it wasn't as strong with the festive energy, and somehow the light gun section had all the joy sucked out of it. It's the Grinch edition, basically. Speaking of something not being Grinch-like at all, or even Die Hard-like at all, it's Die Hard Arcade! Originally made as a game without anything festive about it and sod all to do with the film based on a book called Nothing Lasts Forever, Die Hard Arcade somehow got both the Die Hard license and all the Christmas joy that automatically comes with said license slathered all over it before it made its way to the West. So what we have here is a game that, frankly, isn't a Die Hard game, but is because of the name. It's the 3D successor to Streets of Rage we all wanted in the mid-90s, but then it didn't really catch on and take off, probably because people associated it so closely with the most wonderful time of the year and figured it'd be daft to have a Streets of Rage 4 you could only play at, like, Easter or whatever. Shot itself in the foot there, did Die Hard Arcade. Dynamite Cop exists too, as does a third game in the series, but neither bothered with the Die Hard license anywhere in the world and so lost all holiday spirit and so can't be considered Christmas games as they are free to be played at any time of the year. The shits. In a post-9/11 world, the gentlemanly terrorism of Hans Gruber and co. lost a lot of its luster, even though A, they weren't terrorists, they were exceptional thieves, and B, Christmas became even more important thanks to a little-known clause in the Patriot Act. Probably, I don't know, I've not read it, nobody has, otherwise everybody would be really angry all the time, surely. Still, this new world we entered into saw Die Hard return, its impact stunted somewhat by the real world in which actual terrorists were now a very clear and present danger to the entire world of course being the United States of America. Anyway, Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza hit on PC and was a big stinking pile of toss from start to finish, a game that bothered to come out in a world where things like Half-Life exist just shouldn't when it's this banal, frankly. And worst of all, it doesn't even include any waist-high water wading with flamethrowers, nor do you meet Kris Kringle at any point, unacceptably non-Christmassy, frankly. Die Hard Vendetta was the console version of Nakatomi Plaza, not in that it was the same game ported, because it wasn't the same game nor was it ported, but in that it was a bad first-person shooter with the Die Hard license released into a post-9/11 world and losing all sense of what it takes to be a true Die Hard game. That being Christmas. When the news outlets you should definitely trust tell you that they're coming to take Christmas from you, I ask, where were you when they took it away from the most festive game series that's not actually a series of all time, the Die Hards? On the naughty list, that's where you were. That's most of the Die Hard games, actually. There were some more recent ones that came out on phones and stuff, but literally nobody in the world cares, and this is supposed to be a more relaxed time of year, so you're bollocksed if you think I'm hunting them down to get footage. Just imagine really bad games based on one weird, mediocre film and one really bad film, and I think you'll be on the right track. And that's that. The best Christmas games around. They're all Die Hard. That's the joke. That's the video. That's me almost getting through the whole thing without mentioning that this year has been toilet and Christmas is crap because of that. Oh well, maybe next year I'll play Christmas Nights or something. Bye. Jingle bye.
Look, Al, I'm not leaving. Now, I'm not in uniform, so if I get spotted, I'll just make like I was a guest who got lost.
Oh yeah, you look like a real art lover, McClane.
Well, I've always been partial to the odd comic book.